There is something happening in Dubai. This place used to be the fun place where Nigerians and other foreign nationals go for their vacations, shoppings, and whatever getaway experience they wanted. I mean, take a look at this beauty. Who doesn't want to come here? Unlike Venice and Paris, which are the two most beautiful places in the world, Dubai isn't so hard to visit. I mean, just apply for your visas and in just 24 hours, it's right there at your doorsteps. Not that easy. Anyways, all that is sort of changing. And it's like they say, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
The United Arab Emirates
has reportedly banned visa applications.
Back in the middle of 2022, the United Arab Emirates immigration authorities announced a visa ban on Nigerians. By the time this announcement went out, a lot of Nigerians had already applied for their visas to be able to travel for vacations, shopping, and what have you. The authorities simply gave an FU to all the applicants, turning all of them down. Yes, all submitted applications were rejected, but you don't get your money back. The fees are non-refundable. Although no reason was given for the ban, the Dubai authorities said something very interesting, a statement that will help us unravel what really happened. The Arab state declared that all applications were on hold until issues between the UAE government and the Nigerian government were resolved. It is good to note that this was not the first time UAE was restricting Nigerians from traveling to the Arab nation. But the latest decision made by the authorities was for all Nigerians seeking to travel to the UAE. No categories were exempted. Something was definitely not right, because you don't just wake up and place a ban on a particular country. Although the ban affected some other African countries, Nigerians were getting pushed out of their jobs. They were unable to renew their work permits as the UAE government placed them on some unofficial blacklists. This had caused a lot of suffering, but the Nigerian government's narrative was quite different from what facts on the ground were saying. So what happened?
Nigerians in the UAE, please, I need 2 or 3 people that will join me. Let's go to Abu Dhabi. We need to speak to the embassy regarding...
When governments make decisions or enact policies, their citizens are usually at the receiving end of it. For close to 2 years, the UAE and Nigeria have been engaged in some form of Cold War. It's been a series of diplomatic battles, but it got to a new height recently.
For over months, if not years, Nigerians have been deprived of work permit.
A lot of Nigerians cannot be able to renew their visa.
It has been 18 months of no work permits.
Also of concern is the trapped funds of Emirates Airlines.
It all started in July of 2021 when an official at the Ministry of Labour in the UAE confirmed that work permits were being regulated, but the excuse was COVID-19. You know, many countries did a lot of shady things just because they had COVID to blame for it. But this action seems to be targeted at Nigerians only. And that was the interesting part of it all. You see, before all this flexing of muscles began, the governments of Nigeria and the UAE met in December of 2020 and signed a memorandum of understanding to provide a platform for both countries to engage each other bilaterally. But then, something happened a year later. In February 2021, the federal government of Nigeria discovered that the national airline of the Arab nation, Emirates Airline, was subjecting Nigerian travelers to additional COVID tests known as the rapid antigen test. The government was furious and they stopped the airline from that practice because it was against the stipulated negative PCR tests being done at the Lagos and Abuja airports before departure. Well, the Emirates Airline were not happy about that one and they decided to shut down flights to and from Nigeria owing to the disagreement between it and the aviation authorities on the propriety of subjecting passengers traveling from Nigeria to an emergency COVID-19 protocol. I told you lots of shady things went down in the name of COVID. Well, after some back and forth between the authorities of the aviation ministry and Emirates Airline, flights resumed. Hallelujah. Everything was fine, right? Nah. You see, somebody will have to concede for a fight of this magnitude to have an end. In this case, nobody was willing to. The airline continued to conduct tests for passengers before departure from Nigeria. This got the federal government of Nigeria very angry, and they decided to suspend the airline from flying in Nigeria. Yup, the government just woke up and basically said, alright guys, pack your stuff and get out. And just as expected, the UAE responded in kind, refusing to renew Nigerians' work permits, which offends the letters of bilateral agreement to which both countries had signed in, wait, what month was that again? December 2020. Now, things didn't quite escalate dramatically overnight like that, It started with the limitations placed by both countries on the amount of flights their airlines could make per week, with Nigeria cutting down Emirates Airline to 1, and they in turn did the same to 𝗬𝗃će. By the time this disagreement was resolved, there was already bad blood between both countries. So when some Nigerians in the UAE got involved in criminal activities, it was very easy for the Gulf country to come back to the negotiation table with other terms, this time not so favorable to the Nigerian government. Now, fast forward to October 23rd of 2022, the Nigerian government, through the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, announced that a total of 542 stranded Nigerians have been evacuated from the UAE. But why were they stranded? I thought these were just two countries trying to show each other who is boss. So why involve these innocent citizens in their political ploy? Remember, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers.
Do we still have embassy in this country? Do we still have ambassador in this country? Because I don't understand what is happening. When there are issues that
Nigerian workers living in the United Arab Emirates are now having difficulties renewing their work permits owing to a lack of bilateral agreements between their home and host countries. While it is true that the problem started with the clash between both governments in June 2021, something else added fuel to the fire that has refused to go out. First, let us understand the problem. According to a Nigerian stranded there in the UAE, the portal for work permit renewal bounces back Nigerians' details when they try to log in. He said that this does not affect people of other nationalities. When he and others noticed this, they went over to lay complaints to the Nigerian embassy in Abu Dhabi. But they were told that there was no issue. Yeah, basically you can go and retry again. When they complain to the UAE authorities, they are being told to tell their Nigerian government back home to do the right thing for the ban to be lifted. So, with no solution in sight, the company started to fire them. You could go to work and with your work permit coming close to expiry and find your sack letter waiting to be handed to you. The National Emergency Management Agency has said most of the Nigerians who were evacuated to the country after being stranded in the United Arab Emirates complained of not being able to get a work permit because of a new policy by the government of the Middle East country. But you know what the government agency failed to mention? The new policy in question. But how did it get this bad? What was the fuel to this fire? In November 2022, there was a report that Dubai's Emirates has suspended flights to Nigeria for the second time since September, citing an inability to repatriate funds from Africa's biggest economy. Remember that period after the presidential primary elections in Nigeria that the country was facing severe dollar shortages, forcing many citizens and businesses to seek forex on the black market? That was the period where the Naira currency was diving deep down into the abyss. Well, an Emirates spokesperson said the airline had attended several meetings with the Nigerian government and proposed ways to clear a backlog of blocked funds. Sometime in June 2022, the International Air Transport Association accused the Nigerian government of preventing foreign airlines from repatriating the sum of $450 million. That is about 188.6 billion naira. They had earned this money from ticket sales to their respective countries, but somehow the government was preventing them from repatriating same. But what does this even mean? A blocked fund is an amount realized from foreign operations, but is blocked based on regulations imposed by the government of that country. Simply put, money owed to airlines on credit. So the airlines are selling but are not able to get their money back to their countries. You see, the airlines' money should be given to them in dollars and not in naira, since they are foreign organizations. The central bank and the banks are meant to give them their money in dollars. But because of the shortage of dollars, the money was withheld by the Nigerian government. It's like buying on credit and refusing to pay for it. Guess who is bearing the cost? The airlines. Because if they continue to fly, their operational cost will continue to skyrocket and they are not getting paid. So it's bad for business. Under these extraordinary circumstances, Emirates had no other option but to suspend flights to and from Nigeria to mitigate against further losses. Emirates did not say how much it was owed in Nigeria, but the airline resumed flights in September after the Nigerian Central Bank released $265 million to airlines to settle outstanding ticket sales. But then I checked some sources and saw that Emirates were still being owed about 80% of their ticket sales. But you know where this story gets dark? 𝗬𝗃𝗧𝘂𝗧𝗵 flies to Dubai.
Today's flight time will be about 3 hours 20 minutes.
Now, the UAE government will have to pay 𝗬𝗃𝗧𝘂𝗧𝗵 because they will need to repatriate their own ticket sales too. So, you see where the standoff is most likely to come in? Nigeria, which gets roughly 90% of its foreign exchange from oil, has been struggling to produce due to pipeline theft and years of underinvestment. As of July 2022, the funds of over 20 foreign airlines had risen to over $600 million, and stakeholders have maintained that if the development was left unchecked, the fund could hit $1 billion. So, while the Nigerian government has continued to blame the visa and work permit ban on criminal activities by Nigerians staying in the UAE, some officials from the UAE kept telling Nigerians there to talk to their government to do the right thing. So, what is the right thing? There are reported incidents of cultism and other criminal activities by some Nigerians living in Dubai and the UAE in general. But the question is it true that only Nigerians carry out these crimes? Why are they the only ones having issues with work permits? Let's not talk about visas now. Why are they getting fired from their jobs and companies telling them that the government has instructed them against hiring Nigerians? There are Nigerian nationals all over the world doing great things and being celebrated. So does it mean there are no bad eggs in other countries that are of Nigerian origin? Of course they are. But you don't see the United States denying people of Nigerian origin work permits. You don't see that from the UK government. Canada is like another home for Nigerians. So why is the case with the UAE so different that Nigerians are getting sent back home? I watched a video where 𝗁cie𝗂𝗧𝗂𝗪, the popular Nigerian YouTuber, was lamenting how he got rejected twice while applying for a visa to attend a conference in Dubai he was meant to speak at. His only crime was being a Nigerian. There is more to this story than I know, and there is more to this than any of us can find in the news circles and articles being granted by government officials. Now, the reason I think so is that no government wants to be embarrassed publicly. So they try as much as they can to tell you, yes, we're working on it. My question though is, what exactly happened? What are you working on? Is it the forex shortage that led to you owing Emirates a lot of money? Is it the inability to have a bilateral agreement? Is it the failure to stand up to a foreign nation bullying your citizens? Or is it the profiling of your own people by the official meant to stand for them? When can Nigerians be proud of their own government? When can we say, no, you can't treat me like this because I am a Nigerian and my government will come for you if you do? When?